Clarence Thomas somehow still finding ways to impress us with the sheer audacity of his corruption. In this particular case, it's a story that's been apparently been developing for quite a while. The New York Times has all the info on his decades-long membership in this sort of like elite group of well-to-dos. So we're gonna give you information on it. They report that Thomas has milked relationships with the rich he made through the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans, a scholarship association to benefit himself and his wife. It's a real thing, obviously. Many of you have probably heard of this before. I will just say, as a person who has never been invited to an association of distinguished Americans, damn, that's hoity-toity. But anyway, he's a part of it and has been for a very long time. He actually joined up just a few months, I believe, after he was added to the Supreme Court. Now look, one way that you can look at that is he is a Supreme Court justice, thus he is a distinguished American, so they will want him. But also maybe they want him because dude is gonna have a lot of power over things that distinguished Americans wants to have influence over. And now they have those connections which benefit them, but not just them. Because of those connections, Thomas and his spouse Virginia have been invited to join luxurious vacations and parties, in addition to being granted VIP access to sports events. All of this obviously having a lot to do with the Supreme Court. Thanks to the association, Thomas has rubbed elbows with the likes of Oprah Winfrey and Ed McMahon during a lavish 3-day Montana birthday party for billionaire industrialist Dennis Washington. I will apply to Dennis Washington the standard I've applied to everyone throughout my life. The longer you spend on celebrating your birthday, the more suspicious I become of the entire endeavor. 3 days is too much. Anyway, Thomas's Horatio Alger contacts, including Washington, by the way, as well as investor David Sokol, formerly of Berkshire Hathaway, helped fund a documentary that painted him in a heroic light after the premiere of an HBO movie that depicted Anita Hill during his confirmation hearings, making sexual harassment allegations against Thomas. So look at that. In popular media, he's getting criticized for a lot of concerns that people have about sexual harassment, all of what was going on in that. And then, hey, this documentary all of a sudden gets produced that helps to protect his image. What a nice little benefit for this distinguished American. Sokol family also hosted Thomas and his wife at their Montana ranch and their waterfront Florida estate. All of this obviously worth thousands and thousands of dollars. None of that apparently has been reported. Previously, they had to do this investigation. The justice also declined to answer questions from the New York Times about the matter. So he's not saying anything. Neither is the Horatio Alger Foundation. A spokesperson noted that, quote, the association is not privy to the relationships that individual members have with one another. Well, look, they didn't spend decades building up this web of influence to just admit to the New York Times that it's to benefit themselves and not the country as a whole. Jayar, what do you think?
We talk secret societies, but this is one of the ones that just absolutely is not a secret. So we live in a country where we talk about the opportunity. You have unlimited opportunity, equal opportunity. You can make it as long as you work hard in this country. We have a scholarship situation with the Horatio Alger situation of distinguished Americans. So only distinguished Americans and anybody who knows these distinguished Americans can maybe get their hands or an opportunity at this scholarship. That's number one, right? So what about the other folks who aren't distinguished Americans? Or is there some kind of hierarchical system here where we have distinguished Americans to give other distinguished Americans maybe scholarships, positions? Also admissions into college, that thing that the Supreme Court just shot down for other folks who are always overlooked. And matter of fact, weaponized against to being kept down from getting those same opportunities. This same guy who's a part of it, Clarence Thomas, also was admitted into Harvard Law because of that. Was it Harvard he went to? Law, because of those opportunities that then he pulled the chair out from other folks. This is the distinguished American we're talking about. But outside of that, which we've discovered from multiple Supreme Court justices, it's not just scholarships that distinguished Americans give to each other. They also give opportunities for jobs, money, trips, vacations. And in those things that the Supreme Court decides, cases that maybe involve some of those other distinguished Americans, they continue to keep other non-distinguished Americans under their boot. This is the distinguished American club we've been talking about. And there's all kinds of folks that aren't just people that we generally dislike in political circles that are involved in this whole thing, openly and in front of our faces. And when people step up and say, we need to start giving people who don't have opportunities a chance, they go, how dare you try and do something for these low-life loser Americans that do nothing but suck off the teat of America. It's so open and blatant. I'm not sure why we haven't seen it yet, and there hasn't been people uprising against it and going, when are we gonna stop giving everything we have, our hard-earned dollars and blood, sweat, and tears, to the distinguished Americans that keep taking away our rights, our money, and honestly, our opportunities to get somewhere. And then when you don't get there, you know what they say about you? You're a piece of garbage. You're a black person, you're Latino, you're gay. Those are the reasons why you suck, not us keeping our boot on your neck. It's disgusting. I can't believe we're still buying this.
You know, Jayar, you seem like so frustrated that I have to assume that you think that like nothing bad is gonna come of this for Clarence Thomas. You seem to think that like, no, this is a bombshell. This is the latest of many bombshells. What do you think he's just gonna be able to just ignore this? Because I do.
Yeah. I don't know where I would get that from.
It's absolutely absurd. Like, man, when I think about like the scandals that have taken down people in politics in past years, nothing matters these days. Literally nothing. You can do anything. The corruption can be so obvious, and for some reason, the newfound swelling of anti-elite sentiment on the right, they don't care about this. They're not interested at all. This is not the deep state, by the way. Clarence Thomas being a part of the Horatio Alger Society for Distinguished Americans or whatever is not the deep state. It's not a concern. It's not the elites. It's nothing. I mean, it's massive eldritch machinery designed to grind you and other working class Americans down into a fine paste, but it's nothing to be worried about. That's what I'm learning.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.